All right. Okay, so this is our and team call, which is about taking your coaching journey from just being about you to being more about you and your partner. We're going to be talking a little bit about our story. You're going to hear from my husband, Nate, and we're going to be kind of going over a bunch of things. So we're going to talk about some things that is just good for spouses to know or for significant others to know. We're going to talk about some potential hurdles for you that may come up so you can know about them ahead of time. We're going to talk about some misconceptions, and we're just going to talk about our story. So let's go ahead and start by introducing you to us. Most of you guys know who I am, but if you're new and you don't, I'm Becka Robinson. I'm the founder of Team BTFP, this big team family that everybody here is on. And I've been a coach for 2 years today, exactly. And it has pretty dramatically changed our life in those 2 years, but not necessarily been a road that was all rainbow and sunshines. Everything has its ups and downs. In that time, we've had some big life transitions just because of coaching, and that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to introduce you to my husband. This is Nathan Robinson, but everybody call him Nate. We have been together. This is our 5th year wedding anniversary coming up, but we've probably been together for like eight years.
Yeah, we've been together for a couple years before then.
And we met in college, and we have been working together a lot because before I did coaching, we worked together full-time as photographers. So we have been up in each other's business for a while now, and hopefully sharing some of the insights can help you guys figure out some balance. So this is Nate.
Hi. Yeah, they can still see me even though they can see your screen, right?
Yeah,
right.
If you can see you, they can see.
I've been on a couple of the team calls, so I know a lot of you guys, or a lot of the ladies at least, and I know surprisingly amount of the husbands that were hanging out tonight. So hi guys. I've been kind of watching Becka do this for a couple of years, obviously 2 years now, and it was it wasn't as dramatic at first as far as a big change in our life because we were already used to working from home and working with each other. And it wasn't like an overnight thing. What happened is there were these kind of big phases, big transitions in our life. And I was talking to some of the other coaches in Nashville and realized that a lot of the husbands that we hear about aren't always super on board. And I realized that a lot of times I wasn't always super supportive either. But once I understood things and I realized how happy it made my wife, I was a lot more on board, and I realized that a little bit of explanation goes a long ways, and then I can maybe help some of the ladies who might be struggling with that, or some of the guys who maybe just don't know what questions to ask. So I figured we could just kind of present this in a way that was really straightforward and really simple, and also cover a lot of the stuff where I felt too stupid to ask. Like I didn't want to ask what Success Club was because I felt like I should know that kind of stuff. So when I first started, I was hearing a lot of terms and a lot of new things. But I've also, when we first started, Becka signed me up as a coach to get her business going, and I've learned a little bit through that journey and kind of come to my own understanding and approach for how things go. So I'm always here to help too. If your husbands ever have questions or want to ask things from a guy's perspective, tell them to message me or add me on Facebook, and I'm always happy to help out and answer however I can.
So do you want to talk about some terms?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, so we figured before jumping into this team call and talking about all of these things that have to do with coaching, we would make sure that everybody was at the same spot. So for all of you coaches that are new and for all of you spouses that are new, we're going to break down some Beachbody jargon that you probably hear your wife or your significant other say all the time, and maybe you don't know exactly what it means, and maybe that can cause some frustrations in your relationship. So we're going to go over some...
Before you change slides, that picture of us on the left is literally like before we were married. That's like 7 years old.
I know, but I liked it, so I put it in there.
All right.
We have it framed somewhere in here.
Yeah, it's anyways, sorry.
Okay, so first, am I doing these?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll jump in.
Okay.
I'll give some color commentary.
So first, Success Club. So when your spouse starts coaching, this is probably one of the first terms you're going to hear them say a lot, and you're probably going to hear them say it in kind of like a panicked tone, like, I have to get Success Club, I'm working for Success Club. And in your head, you may be like, I don't know what that means at all. So to break it down really simply, Success Club is your spouse's bare minimum monthly goal in their business, which is why you're going to hear this term over and over and over again every single month, because it's something that they're going to be trying to accomplish every month. And every month they have to start over from scratch with this goal. It's a monthly goal. To hit it, it requires your spouse finding 3 new people to their business, and those new people each buying challenge packs. And that is kind of the basics of it. Success Club comes with a lot of bonuses. So Beachbody as a company will incentivize it, and they'll do little gifts or prizes. Sometimes we have team prizes. And then Success Club can help you earn bigger things in the company as well.
Like a trip.
Like trips. Okay, so to get Success Club, your spouse has to find 3 people that are new each month, and they have to buy challenge packs. So what's a challenge pack? You're probably hearing this phrase a lot. A challenge pack is a bundle of Beachbody products, and it's what's needed for a new person to get started really strong. It's priced at a discount as an incentive to help new customers start on the right foot, and it includes a workout program and all the stuff that comes with that, a month worth of Shakeology, 30 days access to streaming workouts, and it includes access to your spouse's challenge groups. Okay, so what's a challenge group? A challenge group is a private online accountability and support group run by a coach, and we usually host them on Facebook. And it is to help that coach's customers to have better success and results with whatever program they're doing. So before coaches started using Facebook, most people just did they just bought a program off of an infomercial and they just did it on their own at home. And maybe they connected with people via message boards or whatever, but it was very isolating. So challenge groups brought this community aspect to it. And when challenge groups started, people's results started getting so much better because you have this place to plug in and feel connected and feel accountable to these workouts that you're doing at home. So it's kind of the bread and butter of what coaches do day in and day out. So you'll probably hear your spouse talking about challenge groups. Most coaches run one group every single month. So it's going to be a phrase you hear a lot. All right, talking about ranks. So in this business, coaches can get promoted to different ranks, and you've probably heard a bunch of gemstones being talked about, and that is because the Beachbody ranks are named after gems. So the very first promotion that you can get as a coach, okay. The very first promotion you can get as a coach is Emerald. The next one is Ruby. The next one is Diamond. And then everything after that is Star Diamond. And these ranks are based on different metrics, and each one comes with its own benefits and perks. So you can kind of ask your spouse to go over with you maybe what rank they're pushing for and what that means for them and for their business if you're interested. But just to give you an idea, when you hear people saying Diamond Coach or Star Diamond Coach, this is what they're talking about. It's basically like the different positions at a retail store would be. So there's, there's assistant store manager, like district manager, whatever. It's kind of the same idea. It goes up from Emerald to Star Diamond, and you can promote up along the chain. All right, getting a slightly more advanced, team volume, TBCs or team bonus cycles, strong leg and weak leg. Now this is where I think a lot of spouses are like, oh, we have a visitor. You're supposed to be sleeping. Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
This is Cadence, our son, who is stalling hardcore on bedtime. Good night. This is where a lot of spouses get kind of lost and confused, but I think that this is actually where a lot of spouses, when they do know what's going on, really love to contribute, because this is where a lot of strategy comes into play, and a lot of times that's a strength of spouses. So for Emerald coaches and above, you can earn income as a coach based on your volume, your team's volume, not just on commissions. Before you're an Emerald coach, the only way that you can earn income as a coach is commissions. But once you hit Emerald, that's the first promotion, you open up the option to earn income through these other things. So these terms affect only Emerald coaches and above, but they're really important. So once your spouse hits Emerald coach and continues to move up the ranks from that, these are going to be terms you're going to hear, and these are terms that affect them. Team volume is just self-explanatory. It's the volume of your spouse or your significant other and all the coaches below them in the downline. TBCs, or team bonus cycles, that has to do with the income they earn each week based on that team volume. So those two kind of go together. And each week, your spouse can have money in their paycheck from team bonus cycles, or TBCs. Strong leg and weak leg have to do with the system of placement that Beachbody has in our downline. The way that our downline works in this company is there's just two legs that come off, a left leg and a right leg, and sometimes one of those is strong and weak, and there's some strategy involved with building your team as you go. And so you may hear your spouse talk about their strong leg or weak leg, and that's what they're talking about.
For you guys that like video game strategy and theory and like all the little details and are very detail oriented, this is where you guys can be a huge help, because if you can learn how that system works, you can really help your spouse build their team the right way and the strong way. And every time I'm talking about like talent trees and my characters in video games, Becca's like, this is basically what we do in Beachbody. You should be doing this for me. This should be like your full responsibility.
Yeah, because in Beachbody, the way that your volume works and your strong leg and your weak leg and your team bonus cycles and your placement and all that stuff, there is some strategy involved. So if you are a significant other and you are really good at strategy and, planning 2 and 3 steps in advance, like if chess is a game that you're good at playing, you may really want to dig into learning this alongside your significant other so you can help them with this, because it'll just help you both overall to be doing better and better in the business and making smarter and smarter choices as your spouse builds their business, to understand these things from the beginning. So if you start hearing these things and that's a strength of yours, maybe dig a little bit deeper with your spouse and have them explain it to you and show you how it all works. And because it's one of my favorite things, because I like strategy. I think it's kind of cool and fun to dig into. So if you're like that, you may really enjoy it. Okay. Lastly, in our terms and explanations, these are events that you're probably going to see pop up on your spouse's calendar, and you're going to be like, what are these things that you're going to, and why are you going on all these trips? Why are they taking up all of these extra weekends and days? So first is fit clubs. Fit clubs are just free workout groups that coaches can run in their area. Your significant other may decide to run one, and it's basically just where a bunch of people get together and they pop in a workout DVD and they do it all together. It's really simple. It's just kind of like a fun way of working out in a group. Some coaches have really big fit clubs and they do them in their community. Others just have a couple friends that do it with them, but that's one of the things that coaches can do. Next is Coach Summit. That is Beachbody's big annual convention. It's in the summer every year. This last year, it just happened. It was in Nashville. It's going to be in Nashville again. So
it's a lot of fun.
You've probably...
It's surprisingly fun.
This was Nate's first one that he went to. You've probably been hearing a lot about that right now because your spouse was probably trying to sign up for it or getting on the wait list or talking to you about if you were going to come with them next year. I would encourage you that if your spouse is serious about building a business with this, that you would support them in going to Coach Summit next year. And if you can financially or time-wise, if you can figure out a way to get there alongside of them, I would do it, because it's a huge introduction to the company for you as a spouse. You get to see how corporate supports the network, and that's a really big I feel like confidence boost. It just makes you feel really good to see what's going on, because your spouse is involved in it day in and day out, but maybe you're not seeing all of that. So it's a good one for spouses to get to.
Yeah, and I think anytime you go to a Beachbody event, any of the ones that are on this list, it's a really big eye opener to see how many people are really passionate about it. How many people are making a living off of being a Beachbody coach, and how many people it really affects very positively. So if you're ever wondering, like, is it legit? Like, go to any Beachbody event, and it'll be very eye opening for you.
Next, the Success Club trip. So some of you guys may already be on your calendar if your spouse was a coach last year. The Success Club trip is a trip every year that you can actually earn to go on for free. It's just a free all expense paid vacation. It's different from Coach Summit because it's not necessarily a learning or a conference style trip. It's just celebration and fun and relaxing. This one that's coming up in the spring is a cruise to Haiti and Jamaica, and Beachbody's chartered the biggest cruise ship available.
Literally the biggest cruise ship in the world.
The Oasis of the Seas.
Mm-hmm.
And you can earn your way on it for free. So you may hear that. That's a really cool incentive that Beachbody does. I'm going to fly through the rest. Super Saturday, those are quarterly events that are hosted by coaches or groups of coaches all throughout the nation. They're just kind of to gain excitement, to raise excitement, to talk about new things, and just to have ways to connect with people in between the big events. A diamond retreat. Some teams have diamond retreats, and the leaders will host a retreat for their diamonds. So you may hear your spouse talk about that, or talk about wanting to qualify for that or go on that. And the last two are a little bit more exclusive. You have to qualify for them: the New Leadership Conference and Leadership Conference. But if your spouse is a diamond or above, you may hear them start to talk about wanting to go on those trips, because they will have the opportunity to qualify for them. And those are trips where Beachbody invites you out to California, and you really get some one-on-one time with the corporate team, and you get to have kind of an inside scoop on what's going on in the company.
Cool.
All right. You want to take the lead on this part?
Sure. Well, I think we can do this one together.
All right.
So a lot of people have a lot of questions, and a lot of my friends even have come up and, asked, like, where's Becka been? How come she's not doing as much in photography? What's the deal with you guys lately? And then I tell them, like, oh, she works for Beachbody. And I get a lot of kind of like blank stares, like, okay, cool. Like, but why is she not running your business anymore? And the idea that she can be running and doing this full time as like a career and not just like as a fad or a hobby is really, really mind blowing to people. And I feel like they look at me like I have two heads. So I think this is pretty relevant. First one, how do you make money in Beachbody? I could ask you. You can explain this one better than me.
It could be like a pop quiz, though. I could make you answer it.
You could.
So to give you the simple answer, you can make money in two ways with Beachbody. Number one is through commissions, and number two is through team bonus cycles, which I explained a few slides earlier. You have to be an Emerald rank coach or above to earn income both ways. If you're just a coach, if you haven't hit any of those promotions, then the only way you can make income is commissions. But the cool thing about coaching is literally as soon as your coach account is set up, you can start earning commissions. You can start telling your friends about stuff, and you earn commissions on anything that they purchase through you. So that's cool. But the real way that people make significant full-time incomes from this is through team bonus cycles. So it's getting to Emerald rank, opening up that option for yourself, and then continuing to grow your team and your business. That's how people make significant incomes. That's how people replace full-time incomes, and so on and so forth.
So is it sustainable? I actually can answer this one, I think, pretty well. Because it was my first question when Becka started doing this and started talking about maybe backing off in our other business. And when we sat down with Becka's coach, her personally sponsored coach, it's one of the first things I asked too, just trying to be a discerning husband. And I said, well, look, like obviously the people that have been doing this for a while are positioned well with the company. Their volume is crazy because they have massive teams. But really, how long can somebody do this? And I think I looked at it. First of all, the cruise was very eye-opening, and I know that's just a bonus. It's not something there that's just to distract you and make you look the other way while they're like pulling the wool over your eyes. It really, getting to meet the other people on the cruise was really eye-opening. So many people really love what they do and innovate and find new ways to make this their livelihood. Second of all, the company takes such good care of the people that work for them and that represent them. And they're constantly giving us new products and new tools. This last time at Summit, tons of new things in the lineup: workout programs, supplements, new apps, and just ways to make everybody's lives easier and happier. I don't think the company's going anywhere. If that means
Except
anything,
up.
It's going up. It's not going anywhere. It's not going away. And they've made a really, really strong commitment to helping their coaches earn a living doing this at all levels. And so I really am confident that you can bet your bottom dollar this is going to be around for a while.
Okay, so is it a pyramid scheme? I'm not going to go into this too much because I actually wrote a super detailed blog post about this. So if this is a concern of yours, ask your spouse to give you the link to the blog post that I wrote about it, because I cited all kinds of articles and broke it down really specifically for you. But the short answer is no. Pyramid schemes are illegal organizations, and Beachbody is a legal and compliant organization. There's a policing organization that we fall into all of the regulations with them. They make sure that all of the different companies that are in direct sales or multi-level marketing, those are synonyms for the type of business that we're in. They make sure that they are following all the rules, that they are doing everything they're supposed to do, and we're always compliant with them. In fact, we won an award last year from them for our training program for new coaches, for how innovative and successful it was. So we're kind of like the star pupil, like the teacher's pet. So if that's a concern of yours, if that's a question that's in the back of your head, it's a legitimate question, only because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And if that's a question of yours, it's great that you're caring and concerned enough to want to investigate that. So ask your spouse to give you the link to the blog post article that I wrote about it.
Cool. What does it cost? And that answer...
Wait, you skipped one.
Oh, sorry. How long does it take to make money? I can read. It's really, really different for different people. Becka went diamond for the first time within a month, I believe. Made a little bit of money when you first started, and then not a whole lot of money for a while. I think it really depends on how much time you put into it. It also depends on what your goals are. Not everybody wants this to replace their full-time income, and those people are not going to make as much money as somebody who does.
And that's fine. Everybody has different pieces.
So, Becka spent a lot of time right when she started and got the ball rolling, and we started seeing a decent income in a few months. But she put a lot of time into it. So it could be anywhere from never to, probably not never, from never to 6 months, a year to a month or two. It just depends on how much you invest in your own.
Yeah, if you are looking to make this an income that either supplements your income or replaces it, I would say look at committing a year to 2 years to see a significant turnaround. And that's of consistent, dedicated effort, doing your 3 vital behaviors all the time, not quitting and starting back up. But there's no guaranteed anything, because it's dependent on every single person's goals, their own timelines, their own work, how much they put into it, how consistent they are. So this is a really common question we get asked from spouses, but it's a little bit difficult to answer because this business has so much flexibility, which is awesome. You can really coach in so many ways to fit so many different goals and lifestyles. So it really just depends on what your goals are and how much you're willing to dedicate to reaching them.
Cool. So what does it cost? It doesn't really cost anything. Coach fee is $15 a month, $15 a month. You should be using the product you're selling. So you should be using Shakeology, should be working out and trying a new program. So there is a little bit of an investment in that.
But you get to use it.
And you also
Which
get
is
a
nice
discount. So your coach fee breaks just about even.
And if you sign up as a coach when you buy a challenge pack, it's actually free to sign up as a coach. They waive your sign up fee. If you don't do it that way, then it's only $39. So it's still not very expensive when you think that you're opening up an entire business.
And I'll touch back on like the initial cost later, because that point is going to come up again in a bit.
Okay, we need to pick up our
Yep. Sorry, we'll go faster.
We kind of answered the Beachbody Prime one already.
Yep. The answer is no, it is not past its prime. Beachbody is constantly putting out really, really great new things.
Why does your wife want you to sign up for a coach too?
Yeah, why do you need 2 accounts? First answer is the part of hitting Emerald is to have another coach underneath you. So if you want to earn commissions, the more people you can get underneath you, the faster, the better.
Yeah, and a spouse is an easy kind of first person to do that. Also, if your spouse is looking to build a significant business out of this, having you as their spouse signed up early in the business just puts you in a really great position for later on when their business has been built. Then you can build your account out and you can earn more money through it. Whereas if you wait to sign up till 6 months later, you miss out on a lot of that time and that momentum in between. And, why miss out on stuff when you don't have to?
Right. And what's the daily time commitment? It just depends. My wife devotes like 23 hours a day to that and then sleeps for like 1. She works really, really hard. She puts a lot of time into it. That's why she's successful. That's why she's good at it. You can put as much or as little as you want into it. You can't expect to get a lot back if you don't put in the time. So it's different for everybody. But it does take time, and it does take a lot of hard work. And I can attest to that because I've seen the amount of work that Becka pours into her business.
Do you want to talk about teams real quick?
Teams? Yeah. So anybody who wants to be on their own team and have their team and have their team culture can do that, or you can be part of the team that you're already on. So Becka is part of the Bombshell Dynasty. Everybody on this call, well, most of the people on this call are probably part of the Bombshell Dynasty. A lot of them have their own teams as well. It's just if you want to take on the responsibility and create the culture, create the branding, create the logo, do the things that go with that, you're more than welcome to do that as a coach. But you will always be on the team of the people that are.
And welcome to use that in that culture so you don't have to do any extra work.
Yep.
All right. This is the meat of our call. So I know there's a lot of info in here, but hopefully that helped you guys get kind of a good base understanding. And this is what I think is really going to be a cool part for you significant others to hear, because this is going to be a little bit more of our struggle and journey.
That's me.
That's you. I know that was the play to your strengths.
Mm-hmm. So the first answer to this, how can spouses help? When you say be supportive, it reminds me of when we're taking pictures, when we're like, all right, look like you like each other. Or like, look good, smile and look happy, but don't pretend you're not looking at a camera. It's just, be supportive is like a very broad blanket statement, and I hate to start with that. But there are so many times that I've seen people shoot down the idea of being a Beachbody coach. And I always hear one side of a conversation, so I don't know what those conversations look. I just hear when Becka says, oh, this person's husband doesn't want them to be a coach right now, or is arguing with them about spending the money to do it or sign up, or thinks it's a pyramid scheme and yada, yada, yada. And I hear one side of that. So I'm sure that not all husbands are being super negative. They probably have the best intentions, but being supportive is a huge part of it. Becka is generally really successful when she tries something. So it was not hard for me to get on board with her trying a new endeavor. Usually she wins, she hates losing. So I was pretty on board with her doing this from the beginning. But overall, be supportive, take an interest in what your wife's doing. That leads me to like asking questions. The more I can get to know about what Becka does and how she does it, the better. And I really try to make a point every day to find out what she's working on. Because what happens is a lot of times I will be like waiting for her to do something and not realize she's working. She's just in front of her computer, Facebook's open, and I would assume that she was just killing time or whatever and dragging her feet. And she was really working. So I started asking questions. What are you doing? And then she'd be like, oh, I'm sending a message. And about what? What are you sending a message about? What are you setting up right now? What are your goals for today? And realized that I was a lot more understanding and able to be a little bit more patient than just assuming she was goofing around on Facebook.
Because it can look like we're just wasting time, because Facebook is the main bulk of what we do as coaches. But if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing as a coach, then you shouldn't just be wasting time. You should actually be working.
Exactly. Making time. You've got to give your wife time to do this. And I know for us, we were in a unique situation where we both worked from home already, and we both worked on our laptops most of the time already. So this wasn't maybe as difficult for us as it will be for people. But I know a lot of people that both work full-time jobs, and they come home and their wives are on their computers, sending messages, writing emails, doing workouts, and all of a sudden it feels less like, oh, this is just, and we're going to cover this later because this is my bread and butter. But that idea of like, hey, since you started Beachbody, I haven't seen you at night in like a week. So making time and committing to that, trying to like set limits, that goes for the ladies too. communicating about what you're going to be doing that night, if you're going to be working or if you're going to be hanging out.
Don't steal my slide.
All right. Sorry.
I have a slide for that.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to steal it.
Well, get excited about the trips. Get pumped up because they are fun. And especially the cruise coming up. I'm really looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. We went to the cruise. Becka earned the cruise for free it was like 6 months after you started, coincidentally. Mm-hmm. And we got to go on a cruise for free. And I was just assuming it was going to be a bunch of Beachbody nerds that were working out the whole time and not drinking. And that was not the case.
That was his big concern. Like, are people going to be drinking on this boat?
Turns out they were. And I met a lot of people. And there were people that woke up at 6 a.m. to work out with Tony Horton.
That was not us.
We were not those people. But it does happen, and it really, really, really is fun.
And if you can get excited about the trip and have that energy, it's going to be so much more fun for you and for your spouse because this is what they're working towards. They're working towards creating these amazing experiences for you guys, So if you're having a bad attitude about it, it kind of kills a lot of the excitement for something that they've been working really hard for.
Mm-hmm. Scheduling check-ins is huge. I think that for a lot of the people that are getting started, it's, well, how long are you going to commit to this? Because this isn't a financial commitment. It's not huge, but it is a financial commitment. It is a time commitment. And I think in some cases, there are times where people have started and stopped things before, and we don't want you to start and stop just another endeavor if it's not going to be fruitful. And so I think husbands are usually skeptical in that area. And if you can set a time and say, look, I'd really like to commit 6 months to this or a year to this, I really want to give it a go, then don't nag for 6 months. Don't ask, why are we spending money on this? Why aren't we making money yet every day for 6 months? Be supportive and really commit to that. And then after 6 months go by, look at what you've invested, look at where you've come and see if you want to keep doing it then. But try to be supportive until those check-ins, and make sure you schedule the check-ins to make sure you're on the same page. Mm-hmm. Playing to your strengths is huge. This is where spouses get to really, really help out. And I think it's neat because in a lot of businesses, they're so separate. If you work at a car dealership, your wife doesn't get to come in and help you sell cars. This is a place where your spouse gets to come in and be on board completely with what you're doing and help in any way that you can help. So if you're good at spreadsheets, then help with her spreadsheets, help make new spreadsheets. If you're good at aesthetics and have a good knack for design, then help with her branding and her team logos. If you're good at taking pictures, then follow her around with a camera, which is what I did at Coach Summit. And that was a lot of fun. So play to your strengths. Try to figure out ways that you can use your own skill set to really, really be supportive and be on board with your wife. And the last one is encouragement. This is a very, very hard business because you end up dealing with a lot of rejection and a lot of criticism. And I know when Becka first started, people would ask and say, well, what's up with Becka doing Beachbody? All I ever see is her posts about Beachbody, and I don't want to buy Shakeology right now or whatever. And I'd have to be like, look, this is their thing. I'm on board with it. You can ask me questions about it all you want, but I'm fully supportive. I'm here to back her up. And I came home and tried to be as encouraging as possible.
I think this is a really, really big one because if you can publicly support your spouse in front of friends and family, that is huge for them that. And if you do the opposite, it can be really detrimental as well. And not just in business, in your relationship. Think about if you had some sort of, really cool hobby and your spouse kind of made fun of you to their friends, it would be really hurtful. And so this can be a really tricky area because, sometimes people don't understand what Beachbody is from the outside, and your friends or your family may mock it, or they may be skeptical and may be rude. They may make fun of, your spouse to you. And if you can just, you don't have to fight with them, but if you can just, like Nate said, be like, look, it's something she's doing and I'm down with it. I support it. Leave her, don't give her a hard time. Just whatever. If you don't like it, then don't like it. But if you can support them, it bonds you together as a unit. It creates that unity, and it's so much better for your relationship, and it will really go a long way for your spouse in their business and in their confidence. Like, you don't even know how big of a deal it will be for them.
It's massive. I know, again, I mentioned it before, but the amount of confidence it takes to like cold sell sometimes, and the amount of rejection that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
And putting yourself out there over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, it's not an easy thing. And so it's easy to be worn down. And I see a lot of coaches at the end of the day just going, oh my God, like today was really, really hard. Like all I wanted to do was hit Success Club, and I did everything I thought possible and I couldn't do it. Like, and feeling really, really down about themselves. But having a spouse there that's supportive and like, hey, you'll get them next week, and not like, oh, man, why can't you ever hit Success Club? It makes a really big difference. So I think a little bit goes a long way, and just trying to be very positive and supportive. It's okay to be realistic and to have questions and to set deadlines for reevaluating, but try to be supportive and be positive as much as possible.
Okay. Now, to be fair, how can coaches help? Because some of the guys may be like, oh, you guys are hammering on us. Like, what about what my spouse needs to do? So coaches, this is not a one-sided coin. This is a two-sided coin. So when it comes to dealing with your relationships, dealing with your significant other, there are some things that you can do to help the situation too. And it involves you being an organized business person. So you need to track the amount of time you're spending. If you're like zoned in and you don't realize that you have literally gone a week and a half without looking up from your computer, that can be a negative thing in your relationship. I'm guilty of it. I know we all get guilty of it when we're in the zone, but try to be mindful of your time and how much you're spending in coaching in relative to maintaining your relationships. Track your income and track your expenses. This is huge, you guys. So our number one goal when we have new coaches sign on under us is to help them make back what they spent for their own challenge pack. Because then as a business owner, you're in the green, right? Like at that point, now you've broken even, and anything else from this point on is just a positive or a wash. That's our number one goal. But if you're not paying attention to what you spend versus what you make, then all of a sudden your spouse may come to you and be like, dude, you are spending way more than you're making in this. What's going on? And you need to know those numbers as a business owner. So if you're not tracking your business, you hear us talk about it on our team page, you need to be doing a weekly tracker. You need to be tracking your business. Doesn't have to do anything crazy, even if all you're tracking is your income and expenses. This is important. So here's a little example. If you are buying 2 bags of Shakeology a month, one for you and one for your spouse, that's roughly $200, right? So that means you need to sell roughly, what did I say it was? 1, 2, 3, 4, 15,
4 to 5.
4 to 5 challenge packs in that month to break even. And you need to know that as a business owner. You need to know that number because your spouse is trusting that you're going to run this responsibly. So you really need to do that. You can't be willy-nilly about it. So if that's something that is a priority to you, buying 2 bags of Shakeology, then selling 5 challenge packs a month also needs to be a priority to you. And probably a little bit more than that because you want to do more than just break even, right? You want to actually have something coming in. If you guys are in a tricky financial situation, then have conversations with your spouse. Say, here's my goals. Here's the things that I need to do to accomplish them. Where can we meet in the middle? Maybe 2 bags of Shakeology a month isn't financially feasible for you guys. So figure out a way to go down to 1. Maybe you share. Maybe you go down to 3/4 of a scoop each time to make it last longer. That way you're still able to hit your goals of Success Club and you're able to make it easier for you to be in the green every month with your business. But even with 1 bag of Shakeology, then you need to at least be selling 2 challenge packs that month. And we're all going to hit Success Clubs. So of course you guys are selling 2 challenge packs in a month, but you need to know these numbers. And it's a fair thing for your spouse to come to you and be like, hey, you've spent, this money on personal development books, this money on all this Shakeology, all these workout programs, all these new workout clothes, but like, what have you brought in? It can be tempting to go a little crazy when you're a new coach, but have a business mentality with it and make sure that you're not overspending what you make. If you want to spend all that, that's fine. Just go out and make sure you make up the difference. Make sure that you're earning that income to make up for it. But have that mentality and it'll go a long way with your significant other because they're going to feel like they can trust you in this area. It's that CEO mentality. Next, make sure that you focus on income generating activity first. And this is especially important if you're a new coach, but it's important all the time. That means your 3 vital behaviors. That means don't spend 5 hours, coming up with a team name and a logo and a Facebook fan page and a blog when you haven't done your 3 vital behaviors yet, when you haven't hit Success Club yet. Those are your income generating activities. Finding new challengers, helping new coaches get signed up. Those are the things that move your business forward. And they have to be done first before you do the fun projects. It's that CEO mentality. It's a business. Sometimes there's things we don't love to do, and we have to do them anyway because that's what moves us forward. So be respectful of your spouse and your relationship with them by doing those things that you need to do to move your business forward before you get lost in all of the other fun, busy projects. And lastly, keep your word. So if you guys sit down and you do the things that Nate said, maybe you schedule a check-in. Maybe you say, okay, I'm going to commit to 8 months. I'm going to give it my all for 8 months. My spouse is fully supportive. He's going to just let me have kind of free reign to make it happen. Keep your word with it. In 8 months, come back and say, okay, here's where we're at. Here's what I accomplished. Like, here's my goals. And make sure that you don't just kind of be willy-nilly about it. Or if you set days of the week to work, or maybe you set nights that are going to be your beach buddy night, keep your word with it. Try your best to stay within the confines that you guys come up together with that are going to work in your relationship. Now, that's not saying that there may be times that your spouse has to have some grace with you, and maybe you have to have some grace with your spouse. If they're having a rough time and they just need more quality time with you, maybe you're going to have to make that sacrifice. And maybe if you're doing a push goal and you need a little bit more time on your business, maybe they're going to have to make a sacrifice. And that's a relationship. It's give and take. But whatever it is, keep your word so that you have that trust in your relationship as you're trying to build this business.
Oh, so one of the things we're very aware of in our family is during push time.
Well, this is our new section.
Okay, our family feud. Sorry. Our family feud section. What challenges arise when your spouse is a coach? And one of these is really important to me. It's actually the reason I thought of doing this as a call. But the first one is push times. And as much as you want to be supportive, like if you want to be a 10 in supportiveness, you need to turn it up to 11 during push times. Sometimes it means doing some extra dishes or a couple extra trips to and from daycare that week so that my wife can have some time to work in the house by herself without having to do other stuff. Push times, trying to meet Success Club at the end of the month, trying to hit a rank advancement before bonus periods, trying to hold a qualification. These are like real things and real fights that we have had as somebody who's been doing this for 2 years. This is a legit concern for us. Wednesdays are like off the table. Wednesday nights from like 9 to midnight is my dedicated gaming night every week because I know Wednesdays she's out. We do not make plans on Wednesdays. I have literally a standing plan with my friends to play video games with them.
For those of you spouses that are confused, it's because Wednesday is the last day of the Beachbody week. So if anything needs to be fixed or finished, Wednesday night is your last chance to do it. So yep. Wednesday is always make sure everything is good, make sure everybody has everything in place, and that nobody needs help. There's no fires to put out.
Follow up to this. There's not a slide for this, but Thursday mornings is like, I need to be prepared at any minute to bring breakfast in bed to like cheer her up if things didn't go the way that they were supposed to. We've had a few Thursdays that we woke up and decided to go have an adventure because it was not shaping up to be a great day. So
Thursdays can be really, really great days.
Thursdays can be also be our best days too.
Because that's rank advancement and payday.
Yep.
So Wednesdays followed by Thursdays can be.
It's a rough 24 hours, but it's also usually a really good 24 hours.
Okay. This one I'm excited for you to talk about.
So this is what I call the second transition.
Nate has come up with this whole phrasing concept.
It came up actually when I was talking to a bunch of the Diamond coaches on Becca's team at Summit. And I was talking to them about what happens. And I think it's really easy. Generally, the coaches on the team are all ladies, and it's really easy to get and be like, the husbands are supportive, the husbands don't want their wives spending time doing this, or don't want them spending money, and yada, yada, yada. And I was hearing kind of that, how do I say it? I was hearing that side of the story a lot. Not that any of the ladies there were even actually complaining about their husbands. I think all of them were very supportive, but the people on their team were getting pushed back a lot. And then I thought about it, and it's like, well, you guys are asking kind of a lot in some scenarios. You're asking, especially if you're a husband who works, 9 to 5 days a week, and then you come home and your wife's always working at night. It can definitely feel like this Beachbody thing is kind of taking away from your relationship. I think generally this is where it gets really hard. I call it the second transition because the easiest thing in the world for me was giving my wife, not that she asked permission, but giving my wife the green light to start doing this, because I looked at it. She said, look, it's going to cost a couple $100 for the challenge pack and the thing, and I'm going to get in this group and I want to get mentored. And I looked at the downside of it, and I was like, well, we can afford the $200. Like, worst case scenario, we try it for a few months. My wife probably gets better looking. She probably gets healthier and happier. Not that she wasn't beautiful. I sound very like an asshole, but I'm not. But she wasn't happy. She wasn't happy with herself at the time. She felt very stuck. And I thought, well, if this is something you want to try, like, I'm totally on board. If you had looked at me and said, well, for the next year, because after about 3 or 4 months, Becca decided she wanted to make a career out of this. If you looked at me and said, okay, but for the next year, your wife is going to work probably 40 hours a week in this. You are going to have to do a lot more chores. You're not going to see her as much. You're not going to go out as much. Things are going to get harder too. Then I would have maybe thought more about it. I would have been maybe a little bit more hesitant or wanted to know a little bit more about it.
Right, but now on the other side of that.
But on the other side of that, my wife still works 40 hours a week at least doing this, but
That's not what I meant. I meant the positive side.
But I was getting there. But the positive is that financially, we're in a much better place than we ever were. We are happier and have more free time than we ever were. It's a wonderful and probably the best thing that's ever happened to our family. But
the second transition.
The
first transition is when your wife starts coaching.
Hey, I'm going to be a coach. Cool.
That's first transition.
Cool. You want to work out 30 minutes a day and you want to try a new shake? Awesome. And you want to, get healthier and plan meals together? That's cool. The second transition is I want to make this a career, and eventually that will.
Second transition is when your spouse is like, I've caught the vision, I'm going all in.
And a lot of people don't really know what that entails. I think the coaches a lot of times don't realize the commitment that's going to make. If you really want to quit your job and or add a whole income to your life, it is not something that happens without a substantial time commitment. And I think the hardest part about that second transition is that your normal routines in life, your normal responsibilities don't go away. If your wife has a job and she's working 40 hours a week as a teacher, and she wants to be a Beachbody coach, that means she's going to also work as a Beachbody coach full time. That just doubles the amount of responsibility and the amount of time commitment. So it is a huge challenge.
And it's this weird time period where I think it's the hardest time in your coaching career. Because once you get past that hump, like once you're at the point where you're making the full-time income and when you have the team and all that stuff, then everything changes, because then you have more money, you have more time, everything is going, you have the momentum on your side, right? So it's the time before that that's hard. So you're doing all of the work, but you're not seeing all the payoff just yet. And that's where the struggle, I think, comes in, don't you think?
I think it is too. And you have this promise of a payoff, but there's going to be a time where you're working and you're working and working and working. And
yeah, because your spouse is like telling you all the amazing goals they have, but maybe you're not seeing them just yet.
Right. And I think for me, the hardest part about it was that I saw that there was a lot of people having success in it. But at the time, all I saw was that I felt like I was losing the quality time I had with my wife, that she wasn't as committed to our business at the time. And I was like, hey, I can't edit all the weddings. Like, I don't know how to do this. This is something you've always done. This is a priority. It has to be something we work together on. And that caused some conflict. That was really, really a tough time. But the payoff is there. And if you do the work, you will be rewarded. This company is, I promise, if you put in the time, it will be a payoff. It's different for everybody what that looks like, but that transition time is really tough because you're doing the work for a full-time job, but you're not necessarily getting paid a full-time job wage on top of what you're doing. I think we've already kind of touched on this.
Yeah, you kind of did that one.
Gender role shift. This was another one that was really, really tricky for us. It wasn't as tricky because we already had kind of blurred lines with our other job. But I can tell you, I do.
This is like a running joke in Beachbody, though.
It really is. I wish we had that picture that I took of that wedding.
I know. It's called, there's like a running joke in the Bombshell Dynasty called like the real husbands of Beachbody. Like all the guys who were able to retire from their jobs because their wife is a coach. So like, what do they do now, like with their days? It's like the running joke.
I do a lot more grocery shopping, laundry, and taking out the trash than most of my friends do. But on the flip side, I also get to drink beer, travel, and play more video games than them too. So I kind of don't really give a shit. It's pretty worth it. The division of labor in our house, it's very, very different.
It's not very traditional.
It's not very traditional. We just kind of do whatever needs to get done.
Neither is our parenting.
Neither is our parenting.
Not like our parenting is non-traditional, but like the traditional rules are we're not as traditional. It's not like I'm the only one who cares for our son's meals or needs or whatever. Like it's very, very split and balanced.
It's a very real possibility that if your wife decides to take on a full-time income at this and they blow up, that your life's going to change and you're going to have to change more diapers and do more laundry. That's all right though.
But you may not have to have a real job anymore. So it's kind of cool. But this can be something where if you find a lot of your identity in your gender roles, or if you as a person don't want to leave your job, like you like your job, you don't want your wife to retire you from your job, that this can be a struggle. Like this can be a struggle. Like for us, it was a little bit easier, but for other people, it's a little bit more difficult, or it takes them a little bit longer to kind of find a new normal, find a new balance. Because you know, if you're a husband who has been working and providing for your family, and then all of a sudden the roles shift and you are able to quit your job and come home, and now your wife is the one that's bringing in the majority of the income, even though it is a team effort, and even though she is doing it for your family, I know that that is a struggle for a lot of guys, like figuring out, well, what do I do with myself now? Like, what's my identity? Am I just like a house husband? Like, what am I doing with my life? So it can be something that is a balance, and trying to kind of like be really clear with what you think is always good. Like if you don't want to retire from your job, maybe that's a good thing to communicate, and maybe finding new ways to do this. Maybe it's childcare or a housekeeper or whatever the different things are. Just be aware that this can be a stumbling block for people.
And then, you know, a lot of it for me, one of the challenges was I left my old job to be a photographer with Becca. And so as she kind of got out of, we're still running our business together, but as she kind of moved out to being a Beachbody coach, and I was like, well, I don't really know exactly what I'm going to do with myself now. We actually had a scenario where we had a cookout and somebody asked me what I do, and I froze. And I didn't know how to answer it. And I looked at them and I was like, nothing.
It was so awkward.
It was so uncomfortable. It was maybe the most uncomfortable conversation Becca's ever had to have.
I don't even really I'm an introvert, so I really, I would rather gouge my eyeballs out than make small talk with strangers at cookouts. And we were at a cookout and I was being forced to make small talk with strangers. And Nate then makes the whole situation worse by being awkward because he's my social butterfly. So usually I just let him talk and I sit there and smile. But when he makes things awkward, then I have to be the one that, rises to the conversation. And so this guy's like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a wellness coach and that's what I do. And I told him a little bit. He's like, oh, that's cool. He's like, what do you do? And Nate's like, nothing. And the guy started laughing because he thought it was a joke, obviously, because who says they do nothing? And Nate was like, no, really, I don't do anything. I was like, he's a photographer. I had to jump in.
Becca touched on the job thing. Not everybody wants to have their wife retire them or bring them home or whatever you want to call it. To me, I felt like a little bit of my identity was wrapped up in being a photographer and letting a little bit of that go.
Well, you still are a photographer. You still photograph.
But I guess now that is not my main source of income or our main source of income as a family, that was it was hard for me to let go. So it was a little bit tricky for me. It was a very real, as much as it is hilarious in hindsight, it was kind of like a crisis moment, like internally for me, trying to define who I was after that.
All right. We have to.
All right. We will go quick so that we have time for questions.
We kind of talked about this. Okay. So social pressure, this is one we kind of talked about earlier about supporting your spouse, but there will most likely at some point be a negative opinion from someone that you know and care about. It could be from family members or from friends or even just from random strangers at cookouts that you're at. And dealing with that can be a struggle sometimes. So it's really important to have a unified front. Even if you're in that trial phase where you're just kind of giving your spouse some time and you aren't even really sure yourself yet, still have a unified front and still support them just because you love them and you care about them. Because when you have that division, when you let people make snarky comments or make fun of your spouse or say something rude to them about their job, it can really damage their confidence, and that can actually damage their business. So if you want them to be successful, make sure that when there is that social pressure, when someone's like, oh, your wife's involved in a scam or a pyramid scheme, you don't have to fight with people, but just be like, no, dude, that's not the case. Like, she's really good at this, and I support what she's doing. And you can just leave it at that and let your friends and family know that, you know, if they don't agree, that's fine, but that you guys are a team. And lastly, in this, knowledge is power. So a lot of people's objections to what we do as coaches comes from ignorance of what we do. And that's okay. And it's just a fact of the business we're in. So knowledge is power. So if you're a spouse and you're dealing with a lot of pushback from your friends, maybe your friends are making fun of what your wife is doing now, or they're complaining about the fact that they're posting about fitness stuff online, knowledge is going to be your friend. So read that article I wrote about what a pyramid scheme is and what a pyramid scheme is not. Ask your wife about the business. Learn more about the company, because when you do, you're going to feel so much confident to be a unified front with your spouse and to be like, no, that's not what this is, when people push back with you. And it's going to help you to not feel embarrassed too. I know that that's something that a lot of spouses deal with. They get kind of embarrassed when people judge what their spouse is doing, and then they don't know how to respond because to them, it feels awkward too. So if you do have that knowledge and you have that open communication, it can really help you to respond well when those situations come up. Okay, fun time.
Yep.
How things will change.
Yeah, I mean, go back to what I said originally, like
worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, your wife's probably going to be happier and hotter. My wife transformed physically. Everybody is aware of that. But I think one of the biggest things for her, I remember the first time she went to Coach Summit, she came back and said, I feel like I found my people. And for somebody who's an introvert, that going to a conference by herself, that meant a lot to me. She came back happy and felt like the people that were around her were the kind of people she wanted to be with, and to get to know better. And I think that most of the coaches here can attest to that. I hope that the community that you guys get plugged into is worth the work in and of itself. The financial benefit and the physical benefit and the getting to help other people is great, but you also get to really get to know some awesome people that are generally like-minded and supportive and has an awesome community feel to it. So the happiness part of it is one of my favorite things about what Becka does.
And with all the personal development that we make coaches on our team read, they will be growing as people too. Okay, so your spouse is going to have a new circle of friends, and that can always be awkward when one spouse has all these new people in their life and the other doesn't. And they're going to have travel opportunities. So they're going to be able to go on these cool trips and these cool events. But the good news is that you can too. So you'll be able to go with them on these events, and the stuff that they're doing for you too, because they want you to be able to come and experience it with them. So sometimes it can feel like they're leaving you out, but the truth is that they're really working for you so that they can pull you even more in, and so that you can have more shared experiences and more time together and more freedom to do the things that you guys love to do as a couple, or to accomplish the dreams that you have for your future. And even the circle of friends, they're for every, wife that goes into coaching, there's a husband somewhere. So you can connect with other guys if you're a guy, or if you're a female spouse, you can connect with other female spouses, and you may find some really cool friendships in Beachbody as well if you're open to it.
I will say I got to know all the guys that are in that photo in the last Coach Summit, and a few of them I already knew. They were really cool guys. These were from all over the world or country in Canada. Really, really genuinely cool people. They were not like, it wasn't that we just sat around and talked about Beachbody the whole time. These are people that are really genuinely good people. All of the wives and the people in that picture are top 50 coaches in the company. Their wives are, and maybe even, I think you could say top 30 looking at it. Their coaches are rock stars in the company, and they're all super supportive and super stoked to be there.
But they're not like weird.
No, they're just
people.
They're just.
I think that's a misconception that like people who are really into this business are somehow like weirdos in some way.
No, I mean these people.
Or that you're not going to have anything in common with them, but they're just normal people.
Yeah, most of them there were really into beer and coffee and all the same stuff.
Some of them have kids, some don't.
Yeah, I mean they're genuinely cool people.
So another way that things can change is that more options can open up for you and for your family and for your future as your spouse builds more and more of a business and finds more and more success. And this can look different for everybody. Everybody's goals are different. So the options, for one person may look different than others, but whatever it is for you, that's an exciting thing. And we would really encourage you to kind of, brainstorm and dream and set visions for the future together as a couple, so that as your spouse is working towards them, you can know that this is a shared goal that you have.
On top of that, as Becca was talking about that, I remember thinking like if I was in anybody's shoes as a spouse coming to a call like this and asking like, hey, what's the deal for real? And you're welcome to ask me that in the Q&A here in a minute. I think I would have probably been pretty skeptical at first. It was something that was really hard to believe. Like, oh, you're going to start this business at home, working for yourself. Do we really need to do that? Like, we had a company that we were running. Like, why do we need to take on this responsibility? Like, how is it really going to get that much better? And I can tell you, it really has. Like, our lives have changed drastically. This is not a sales pitch. This is not anything but me just sharing how I feel about it. Our life is dramatically different than where it was 2 years ago. And it is insanely better. And the possibility is very real, that you could make a real living or add to your income and your network of just awesome people.
Mm-hmm. So I know Nate's talked a lot about the time investment in building significant businesses as coaches, but the good news is that eventually you will have more time to spend as a family, because that is the real goal that most of us coaches are working towards. It's that freedom to live your life by design, to not have the shackles of a 9-to-5 and a boss telling you what you can and can't do, where you can and can't go, to be able to have the financial freedom and the freedom from the stress of debt, or just from being locked into things that you don't want to be locked into, having the freedom to go on a vacation as a family, or having the freedom to go to the park at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, just because. Whatever that is for you guys, the good news is the light at the end of the tunnel is that the goal is to have more time as a family. So when you get stuck in the building phase, that's really difficult and it feels like you just have no time together, know that the vision and the goal is the opposite of that, and that is what your spouse is working towards. And lastly, you may have to redefine your identity as a couple or a family a little bit, like going from, maybe having a very standard socially accepted lifestyle and career path to being self-employed in network marketing is a big change, and it's a big identity change, but it's actually a really, really cool thing when you're experiencing it, and when you really go all in, and when you catch that vision, and when you let yourself kind of start to redefine your own goals and what you really think success is for yourself and for your family. It can be a really, really cool thing. So that's all we had for you info-wise. I know we went a little bit over, but we're still going to go ahead and open it up for question and answer time. So please, please, please ask questions if you have them. There's not a stupid question at all. Let me stop the share. I'm going to stop the recording too, you guys. So